Hello! A standard defense of the Christian faith will involve defending two propositions. 1. God exists. 2. If God exists, then Christianity is true. The first of these is supported with cosmological, ontological, teleological, axiological, and many other different arguments. The second proposition here is defended with the resurrection argument. That resurrection argument looks a little lonely. In this video, we're going to give it a friend, the hiddenness argument. But before we can give this argument for Christianity, we need to look at an argument against theism, the argument from Divine Hiddenness. A skeptic could say, look, if theism is true, then there is an infinitely loving God. But if he is infinitely loving, then he desires to be in a relationship with all creatures, including me. And I am completely open to that. I would love to be in a relationship with the supremely good creator of the universe. But I can't do that because I don't believe in God. This is a situation God could easily remedy if he just revealed himself to me, so why hasn't he? This is an interesting argument. Now, the problem this argument poses for theists is not that it's completely inexplicable why God is hidden from some individuals. The main concern is that once a theist does include an explanation in their worldview, that worldview gets more complex than theism on its own. And hypotheses that are more complex are intrinsically less probable and therefore need more evidence. So the blow that Divine Hiddenness gives to theism is that it raises the amount of evidence theists need to give. I obviously think that theism can reach this bar due to those aforementioned arguments, but that's not the focus of this video. I want to point out that it's not just the fact that there are non-resistant non-believers, but the amount of them matters too. If there were no non-resistant non-believers, there wouldn't be any problem. But the more and more people who turned out to be non-resistant non-believers, the more and more complex explanations theists would need to give, and the more evidence theism would require. We can represent this correlation graphically, but this isn't composed of any hard numbers or anything. Coolio. Now let's rerun the argument from Divine Hiddenness, but with a specific version of theism in mind. I'm going to use Islam for this example. If Islam is true, then presumably there is a loving God who is therefore open to relationship with me. But even though I'm a theist, with regards to Islam, I am a non-resistant non-believer. If I knew Islam was true, I would follow Islam. And Allah could make sure I knew Islam was true by revealing himself to me. So why hasn't he revealed himself? We can now reuse our previous graph with Islam in mind rather than just bare theism. As the proportion of non-resistant non-Muslims like me goes up, the amount of additional evidence Islam needs to bring to the table also goes up. This also applies for Christianity, Odinism, Zeus worshippers, and so on. The religions with more adherents are going to be closer to over here, and have an easier time explaining why there are non-resistant non-believers regarding their religion. And the religions with fewer adherents are going to be over here, and have a harder time explaining why there are so many non-resistant non-believers with regards to their religion. So religions with more adherents, all else being equal, should be believed rather than religions with fewer adherents. Here's another way to explain my argument. Imagine that God exists, and some religion, which we'll call religion X, is true. God, being all-powerful and all-loving, would want people to know true things about him so they could have a better relationship with him. So he would want as many people to believe religion X as possible. Thus, if we knew nothing except that God exists and religion X was true, should we expect religion X to be unpopular or popular? Obviously, it would be popular. So if you become convinced that there is a God, just look at the popularity of the world religions to try and figure out which one is religion X, the true religion. Obviously, no religion is believed by everyone, so something like human free will or whatnot has complicated the matter for God. But it still stands to reason that the more popular a religion is, the more probable it is that it's the one with an omnipotent God on its side. And there's this one religion centered around this first century rabbi that's like really popular. In fact, you'll be kind of hard-pressed to find a more popular one. So you should really just believe that one. Yeah. Before I go, I want to talk about Islam some more. In regards to large monotheistic religions, it seems to be Christianity's biggest rival. So if Christianity is true, then why did God even allow Islam to come into existence? Well, here are my thoughts. If some religion X is true, but due to human free will or something, there is some difficulty God has in propagating it, it makes sense to allow a religion similar to religion X to spring up, so that followers of that religion can still be brought closer to religion X, even if they can't be brought all the way to it. A Muslim could also use the very same logic to explain why Allah allowed the propagation of Christianity. So, interestingly enough, if you think that divine hiddenness is a sizable problem for theism, then you should also believe that, if theism is true, then Christianity is probably the true religion, although it's worth taking a look at Islam too, just to be safe. All of that is something a non-theist could totally agree with, and I think they should if they want to be consistent with their advocacy of the argument from divine hiddenness. But that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and support me on Patreon if you enjoy this content.